Hey, Exiles, welcome to another episode of the Still Sane Pod. I am here with Snoobae85, here to talk all about Path of Exile 2's 0.4 expansion or update, Fate of the Val. Snoo, you just released a video on the temple. The temple has been quite the roller coaster of a mechanic this past month of release, and I know you really want to talk about the ethics of making the perfect snake. So, Snow, give me the rundown of how you initially received the Val Temple mechanic and kind of what it's evolved into today, 4 weeks into the patch.
Jumping right into it. All right. Hey, thanks for having me, by the way. Having me again.
Of
Good to be
course.
back. Uh,
The
oh yeah,
three-peat.
dude. I love this league mechanic. In the end, it's the I feel the same way a lot of people do. A lot of us, higher end juicing type players. It's a hook, man. It's a hook whenever you see such a difference in loot drop, such a reward for a higher investment of time. This is just right up my alley. There's like a million one different ways they could have went about this, and some ways could have been better for sure. I think this has the potential to be potentially the best league mechanic they've ever made in history. If just a few things have been different, and I can't wait to see this go core and what they do with it.
Yeah.
Of course, it could go the opposite direction.
As
We,
we've
we've
seen.
seen we've seen that kind of thing too. But
Yeah.
no, man, when you really think about what this has the potential of doing, the scaling, the the manner which it could appeal to like every broad spectrum type of player, depending on how the rewards are set up. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it, but
Yeah.
that might not be answering your question directly.
That's
But
good.
anyway, that's my current
No,
feelings
that
on the
that that
temple.
was great because I feel like people have been growing warm to that opinion if they've continued playing the league. I think a lot of people,
Yeah,
maybe people listening to this pod right now, may have been very similar to me, but they fully bounced from the patch. I took a break, patches came in, people started to figure it out, and they realized, oh my goodness, this just requires a massive time investment and the reward is ridiculous. It's not like Abyss where you just stick two Abyss tablets in, make sure your map's irradiated, and then you pop in and
yeah,
you're getting
yeah.
crazy. You can get crazy rewards. This requires hours and hours and hours of setup. Of course, there was the whole Holton debacle, and once all those are ironed out, there will be an ethical way to set up an unethical temple as long as you have the time to invest in the future. So I I'm gonna take that clip, Snoo, and we're gonna send it to Jonathan because he's gonna be like, yeah, somebody sees that this is the best league mechanic. I have crafted it
Oh, really?
myself.
Well, am I
Yes.
the only one talking about it that way? No,
No,
man.
there are
My
other
whole
people.
chat is on board with
I
it.
think a lot of people are on board at this point. So, but yeah,
Okay.
so obviously it's received a lot of changes. When you first engaged with it, were you kind of sour, at least in the end game, or did you always see its potential?
Well, I probably have a unique perspective on this. I generally don't engage with the league mechanic hardly at all when it first comes out. Well, here's what I usually do. I will do the league mechanic in Act One a couple of times just to see, because quite often, if there is a great reward to be had from it, it'll be like in Act One. I'll never forget the experience of Expedition League, which was my very first league start because I started playing an Ultimatum League in the middle of it. So Expedition League was the very first league start, and people were dropping like Tower Ashes and all this stuff. Or what am I? Not that. Sorry, wrong
Tabula
game.
Rasas?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tabula Rasas. And that body armor is insanely strong in that game
Right.
for the start, and people were like dropping a bunch of uniques and leveling uniques and things, and they were dropping like candy. And so I learned a lesson at that time, way back then. It's like you should do the league mechanic when it's first introduced in the first zone that it's available in, just to at the very least make sure it's not one of those.
Right. Right.
And so, I did that, and it was, yeah, it was all right. I got like a couple of regals or exalts out of it in Act One. I didn't actually get like what was it, like the lesser jeweler reward, the thaumaturge reward
Chamber.
didn't
Yep.
spawn, I don't think, for me. Yeah, so I didn't get like the maximum value out of Act One or whatever. But I saw, a little bit of potential there. Some very deterministic rewards set up by the room itself, and that seemed kind of cool and all. I didn't know where it would go from there,
Right.
but I just kind of assumed that it wouldn't really be worth my time most throughout. And so the following acts, I didn't mess with it at all. I didn't mess with it in the end game. I just kind of was on standby listening to what people were saying about it. And it was it was just kept spiraling more and more negative
Right.
as time went on. The following days after that, we definitely reached it's kind of funny, like there's like a curve where people were thinking highly of it and then down, and then we were at the abyss of that curve maybe about 1 week into the league, and then suddenly words started coming out. Hey, dude, this thing's dropping a lot of loot. And then they buffed it at the same time. They'd be like, oh my God, wait, if it's already dropping this much loot, what happens when it's full and it's buffed? Wait a minute. And then some people started catching on to that. And then the FOMO kicked in from everyone. And then everyone either dropped out and quit, or people were like, hell yeah, let's do this. I'm going to be devoting half my life to building this temple, and let's see what happens. And I was of the latter crew for sure.
Okay, so you were of the latter. That whole experience is the most fiery I've ever seen just general players get with Path of Exile 2 thus far. My takes were just, I had it. It's gonna make people mad, but I was just like, okay, sucks that some people are using this method of building the temple and getting super rich. But if GGG's not fixing it, they're not fixing it. You don't have to let it rule your fun, right? The thing that I said, I typed out, comparison is the thief of joy. People did not like that. It was like, my game is being actively ruined. I cannot participate in this economy. I'm being priced out of basic items, amazing items, blah, 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 right? What, do you have a take on that debacle there? The whole economy debacle? Before we get back to the temple?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was kind of extreme. It reminded me of Affliction League, obviously, and people have compared it to that. It's a little bit different in terms of the time investment versus RNG. In Affliction League and PoE1, we got absurd amounts of loot. I would argue we have more loot in that game, in that league, than we are seeing here, especially in the context of like the time investment to set it up. To me, I think the most interesting conversation around the Val Temple mechanic is how extreme can you go in terms of making the game fair and rewarding for people who are willing to put in maximal time and reward when that option is available to that extent? Because you have to sit down and think about it. If somebody has to invest, let's say, I don't know, 3 hours of prep time, whether it's in terms of like how much currency they would need to normally farm at a high end to get that amount of currency to pay for the investment cost to do such a strategy, or if it's like the Val Temple where it's not about currency investment, it's about time investment, pure and simple, which is an even harsher stipulation, honestly, especially if you're somebody who can make a lot of currency. To what extent is it fair that, you make a lot of extra currency? Should you make 20 or 30% extra currency for the foreseeable future for doing that, 3 to 4 hours investment? What happens when you scale it up to like 23 hours, 24? What happens when you scale up to 100 hours? How much extra currency should somebody make if they've been slogging through the mud for 100 hours, making less than they would normally do, farming Abyss or something, to see the light at the end of the tunnel and just get like maximum reward? To me, that is nothing short of enthralling as a high-end player. I love the fact that that exists. And I know I speak for a lot of people when I say that. And to me, yeah, it's always going to be, people are going to be mad about, the FOMO and everything. You turn on a stream, you see somebody dropping dozens and dozens of divines in a short period of time when you have no idea just how much time and effort went into doing that. It's super compelling, dude. That's why I say it's, in my opinion, the single best league mechanic they've made, because it's so different and it's so far end on that scale. And Path of Exile as a game is one that gets all of its, praise from being at the extreme end of that spectrum in general. There's a million one other ARPGs where you can invest way less time and get way less value out of it, with all, different strats. We don't need to talk about them because we're talking about Path of Exile, which in and of itself is on that extreme end of the spectrum. So it should have mechanics that exist in that vein. And it should have a variety too. There should be mechanics like Abyss where you just walk in and you just throw a couple precursors in, you get, that periodic Omen of Light, huge payout. Or you're farming Rogue Exiles, which I was doing. Rogue Exiles is the Abyssal Jewel. And, they just kind of come in here and there. And you don't have to invest a whole lot of currency or time to set that up and get the bit of a payday. But that jackpot, that hit will, never amount to the kind of, hits and currency you can get after dozens and dozens of hours of investing, getting nothing out of it, and then
Right.
finally, seeing the end of that payout.
I do think you speak for a large number of players in the PoE community. While it might not personally be myself, I can totally respect that. I think that's a fair take. And I wanted to maybe pose 2 extra questions here to you. One, do you think the Holton strategy, abuse, whatever, kind of clouded this whole fact? Do you think the view of the community would have been drastically altered if Holton never existed? That whole blip where people are just doing something that's just obvious. I don't know what the right word, like just sweaty. People say sweaty. It's like just click, share instance, click, click,
Well,
click.
yeah,
Is that,
it's
would it been
borderline
okay?
exploitative.
Right. I think it's an exploit.
Yeah.
I personally, but GGG's not banning for it, so can't call it an exploit really. I would have called that like an exploit, but of course it's always existed in PoE1, blah, 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 right? Do you think that this would have been very different if that didn't exist and people would have been more okay with like, oh wow, this is just a money printer? That's fine.
I mean, yeah, sure. I mentioned earlier there's probably, there are a few different things that could have went down differently that would have turned this into the best league mechanic of all time, and that's definitely one of them. It's. I mean, look, I'm not gonna get terribly upset with the notion that players are going to do everything in their power to figure out the coolest, fastest way to get around something, and then also blame the developers for not foreseeing every single possible outcome where players might go about doing that. I've seen a lot of blame about the whole like Christmas vacation thing, which boy oh boy, I talked about that last year. You guys might remember on your podcast about the drama
Yes.
of getting hacked
Getting
and
hacked. Yep.
and no customer service and stuff for a while. So I don't need to revisit that. You guys already know my position on that. Of course I'm also on the same team of players who complain about developers who release a game right before a huge break and then don't tend to it on a live service game. I definitely don't like that. So that is my position. I don't want to go down the weeds of that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So the Holton mechanic
Yeah.
specifically didn't bother me very much personally because, truth be told, I wasn't even engaging with league mechanic up to that point, and so I didn't get that visceral feeling of like, oh, you mean I have to do this degenerate behavior to get the maximize that? It actually got patched out right when I started doing league mechanic, so I was kind of like, oh, okay, good. Well, I don't have to worry about it.
Right. There you go. Don't have to
I didn't
participate.
want to. I didn't want to go down that road anyway. The
Yeah.
Holton Road, and
Ah.
so now I don't have to, and nobody else can, and then we don't even need to have that conversation anymore about it being exploitative. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Done.
You brought up another good point too, where PoE, PoE1, PoE2, whatever, should have a variety of different league mechanics that require different time investments. I think that's a great point. This one obviously requires a huge time investment. I think something else that a lot of players didn't realize or chose to ignore was that, okay, so to make profit from the Val Temple, you have to build this sort of temple. You can juice it up to an extreme degree. There's lots of strategies online. We'll talk about yours in a moment. But you do this, you get lots of divines. And they're being priced out of stuff because they might not be participating in the strategy. They don't have the time to set it out, so on and so forth. Some common advice was like, okay, well, you can't do that, but you can do all these other things in the game because all the people farming the temple, they aren't getting these powerful uniques. They aren't getting these crafting materials. Like I saw a post of somebody claiming, oh, the temple invalidates everything in the game. You just go to the temple and you get everything. That is, even from a, not that well-versed player like myself, that's totally untrue. You don't get essences in the temple. You don't get omens in the temple. You don't get any good, boss uniques in the temple. You don't get any of that stuff. What's going on? Like, people, do you think it's wise to have a mechanic that's such an outlier in terms of raw divines in a league where everybody wants to do the new league mechanic? Or was that fine from grinding your games? That's kind of the question.
That's really curious how you're wording that question. I was about to answer it slightly different than you said that.
Yeah.
So a lot of players are kind of married to the idea that the most amount of raw divines or raw loot must drop from maps. Maps are the quintessential core mechanic whereby that is the place to farm raw divine. There should exist no world where in PoE1 heist is the place to drop raw divines. There's no world where June syndicate hideouts should be the place where the most raw divines drop. To me, that's a little short-sighted, kind of a low resolution complaint, and I think that it's okay when the game adapts and moves in different ways. And it's fine when a wrench is thrown into that whole equation. There's a new league mechanic where, oops, now the new league mechanic is a place to drop the most raw loot. People are generally okay with a new league mechanic being lucrative if it's, tied in of itself, where it's the only place to get that particular resource and it doesn't really affect the core game as a whole. But to me, this is what makes Path of Exile really exciting. Whenever there is such a chaotic introduction to the economy like this, and if you pay close attention, you'll see that things even out anyway. The only real downside is that players who are married to the idea that most raw loot should drop from maps specifically, and that must be the best way to farm loot, a very restrictive outlook for sure. I'm talking about players who don't ever want to farm omens in ritual. They don't ever want to farm desecrated currencies from abyss. They don't ever want to farm catalysts from breach. They don't ever want to farm bosses. They don't ever want to farm tile set rewards. They only want to farm raw loot from maps, and that must be the place where you drop the raw loot. I'm sorry, that's too restrictive of an outlook, and you should be okay with at the very least an occasional upset in that formula. And that's what we have here. So would it be a good idea or a bad idea if the temple kept that status for a long period of time? I think that's a more interesting question. I think other mechanics should come along that could challenge that. But again, with the time investment needed to do the league mechanic to build it up as far as you can, and the scaling you can get out of that, and the player agency involved in that. You can scale up small, you can scale up medium, you can scale up large. This is something that makes it such a fantastic mechanic. It's your choice how far you want to take it. If you want to do it the ethical way, the unethical way, if you want to invest 10 hours, you want to invest 100 hours, your rewards are going to scale accordingly in a pretty balanced way, I'd say, all things considered. And then the economy also, what I meant to say in the beginning before you worded your question that way.
Yeah.
You're talking about the omens and other currencies and things. You notice they skyrocketed in price, right? Because there's way more currency being injected into the economy. So a whole bunch of people farming the Val Temple, they were pulled out of farming essences or desecrated currencies or things that are exclusive to those other league mechanics, results in those items being extremely in high demand. So much that they triple, quadruple, quintuple in price. And if you're somebody who just can't stand the Val League mechanic, there's so many other strats that you can go out and do, except for one: farm raw currency and maps. It's the only one you can't do.
Yes.
And get good currency. So we're circling back to that original point, and that's kind of my entire outlook on it.
Yeah, it's a huge realization that I had this league personally, and my friend group had as well. We were playing a lot, like sitting late at night on Discord, and my brother started flipping stuff on the market, and he was explaining to me like how how prices were changing, and like he's very smart. And I was like, oh my, he's opening my eyes, and I like had to put out Expedition Splinters was the thing that he was looking at, and he's like, look at this craziness. 20 splinters, 1 divine orb. That's crazy. You can get like 120 in a freaking logbook that is brain dead. Like you buy the logbook, you run it, you make a huge profit.
Logbooks right now, right?
Right. But if you are like, I need that Rakiata's flow, and if I don't have it, I cannot play PoE2, the game is over. I've read many comments like that. If you really need that, boom, logbooks up, that's your thing. Bam. Just like that. And there, like you said, there's countless other things. Every single thing in the game, which is, it's so cool with PoE2. Because what they're doing is they are encouraging you to interact with all these different mechanics, and they all have their niche thing, which I really like. Like if you wanna get like Abyss Omens, the desecrated currency, you gotta run Abyss. You can't get it from anything else. It's very cool, and I hope they stick with that. That's why I'm wondering, like with the Val Temple, do they have enough unique rewards besides the insane divines to merit like really heavily investing? We'll talk about your snake in a second, but do you think that is true? Do you think the rewards there are good enough? The uniques from Atziri, the editing of corrupted items, that good
Yeah,
enough?
yeah,
Or
great.
do you think it needs to be expanded a little bit more to turn it into something as, important as
Great
Abyss
question. Great
is right
question.
now?
This is another thing I was hoping we'd hit on.
Oh, sick.
Um,
Let's go.
let's see how I want to word this. So, in my opinion, the single worst thing about the league mechanic, is that it is simultaneously so rewarding in one aspect and so unrewarding in another. In a traditional sense, like the exalt bench mechanic is like useless compared to, all the raw divines that you can drop later. But in the very beginning, you're not dropping a whole bunch of raw divines, and you're getting a lot of value out of the exalt bench. I've heard you talk about this in one of your videos,
Yep.
actually. Um, there is there's supposed any league mechanic, a developer is going to try to make it have a curve, right? Okay, they want the value of the mechanic to have a nice, comfortable curve where people constantly feel like they're getting something out of it, a little bit more out of it each time they do it, a little bit more out of it each time. The rewards should scale accordingly. This mechanic does not do that in a very good way, at least in a certain aspect. It kind of does when you look at it just from like building the temple and juicing it up and stuff. But realistically, in a practical sense, it doesn't, because people walk in the beginning in the campaign and they're like, "Oh wow, an exalted bench! Here, let me exalt my gear. Oh wow, regal bench. Oh wow, four-socketed jewelers." And then they come back in, in Act 4, in the interludes, and they're seeing the same rewards, and they're not, they're not building the temple out enough to really see dividends from it on that angle. So it's like two different angles to take on it, and there's just a disconnect. They don't line up in any way that creates that curve.
Right.
So what ends up happening instead is, instead of a curve, it's like a flat line, and then suddenly it's like
Right.
up here. So if you don't see the vision of it up here, and you can't like translate that, in a way where you can justify to yourself, "Oh, I should really pursue this mechanic because here's what will happen." If you can't do that for yourself, then you're going to be left stranded, wondering why is this mechanic is what it is. It's so terrible. Like, it has no rewards. It's just god awful. So this is the worst thing about the mechanic, is that there's no good translation
Right.
to that other side of the reward. And this is a problem that a lot of mechanics have in PoE1, actually, where in Act 1 they'll drop a tabula rasa, and then it's just kind of garbage for a while, and then people suddenly realize a week later, oh wait, if you do it this way, it's actually incredibly good too.
Right.
And I guess that's just a terrible challenge that developers have to do. But if I imagine a world where players were deeply satisfied with the entire journey of scaling up the mechanic right from the get-go, and it was intuitive in that way, where you didn't need a bunch of streamers to tell you after the fact, a week later, how to do it. Imagine that world, okay? Imagine how much people would have loved this mechanic, all things considered. So,
And
yeah, that's my take on that.
and I think that's a possible world if they really work on it a little bit for 0.5. Just some basic explanations. Like, one thing that I was wondering didn't exist is, when you're hovering over the tiles, what if it said this tile empowers these two different tiles? It levels them up, or this tile affects this. Instead, you don't see that. You have to like place it down to see what it does, and then you might screw yourself. In the latest patch, I don't know if you saw, there's a patch that's coming out. Apparently, it was a bug that any tile didn't connect you to Atziri. Right? I bricked my temple for 15 hours. I really wanted to fight Atziri. That was like my goal, right? 15 hours of running 6 modded T15 maps, trying to running the architect, destabilizing, and I wasn't getting rid of the room that I placed in front of Atziri's chambers. Finally did. Connected a hallway. But apparently it was a bug. You're supposed to be able to connect.
So we all
any
thought
room.
it was the pathway. We all thought it had to be.
It doesn't.
Well, see, that's weird, because it kind of made sense to me that it had to be a pathway, because you have to choose between whether farming Atziri or juicing up a temple. And if you're running a pathway straight through the middle, you can't min-max a temple. So are you telling me now I get to kill Atziri and have a perfect temple at the same time?
Well, she destabilized. Well, yeah. If you keep like, I don't know. Okay,
If you
so
lock
that's
everything down. If you lock everything down. Yeah.
This is a good transition.
Wow.
Okay, because Snoo, you posted today a video about the most unethical temple. I am a snake virgin. Okay, I have not watched any snake videos. I know what the locks do. I don't know the mechanics behind them. Like, I guess you can lock certain rooms and it maintains your chain and da 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 da. I know nothing about this. So I know one of your favorite things about this mechanic is the ability to scale rewards and the difficulty using this temple construction. So did you want to kind of go off on building a snake or multiple snakes, and how that was enjoyable, what the experience was like, and all that?
Well, the first, I mean, I got to shout out Milky BK here because he was the first content creator making a lot of widespread videos talking about how to go about doing this. His videos didn't really speak on the absolute maximum min-max way of doing it, but they definitely provided a blueprint early on for players to grapple with how they might go about constructing a temple, and it was really useful for a useful resource for me to see, especially because I ignored the mechanic. I wanted to wait and see what people were saying. So that just worked out terrifically for me. I used a resource. I don't remember the name of the site off one of the GitHub sites where you can actually build your own temple and you can mess around with it. And boy, I'm telling you, I have spent untold number of hours doing that. I feel like I'm playing a board game with myself. I'm playing like chess against myself or something, trying to see all the different ways that I can put rooms up against each other, connect them, not connect them, how long you can make the string go, how few rooms you can have that are kind of dead rooms where they're not really doing anything to kind of maximize the efficacy of the temple, understanding what each individual room does for rewards, now taking in this new information with diminished returns on rooms after 3 rooms of each type. There's, the rewards are diminished. They all do different things. They all scale each other in different ways. And so the depth of all of this is another thing that makes it potentially the best league mechanic of all time. I've never seen a mechanic with this much depth in it to scale both, deterministic rewards like things from the sacrificial chambers, the corruption chambers, which are even still valid at this point, as well as all the raw loot, and as well as killing Atziri and her actually dropping good loot this time. There's that I just named 3 different avenues of pursuing currency in one league mechanic, and if it's I know that if I find myself waking up in the morning, jumping out of bed to log in to play Path of Exile, except it's not even Path of Exile, it's actually a GitHub to figure out how to make the best temple. I know that league has some magic in it. That league, there's something magical going on that would cause me to get giddy like Christmas morning, wake up just to jump in to do this, just spend hours on this weird template thing. It's not even the real game. Like people from PoE1 can relate. Maybe they get up and then they go to Path of Building and they're excited about a new build they're working on, something like that. Yeah, and so I found myself in that situation several days in a row, and that's the magic I'm looking for when playing video games. It's been a while since I felt that. So becoming an old man these days, so it's harder and harder to find. But I found it this league, and I'll be forever grateful because of that.
Wow, that reminds me of Harvest League. That's the one time I participated in spreadsheet shenanigans. I remember I tried so hard to make an actual good garden, and I just resorted to going to somebody's spreadsheet and like finicking around with it. So yeah, wow, there's a GitHub game dedicated to temple building right now. That's what. So do all the different pieces have different ways that they interact with like the architect? Because I remember in your video you're like, we got to get the architect in this position right here. We got to have like 3 empty rooms around. What the heck is going on? Like, it's deterministic eventually? Like, you can predict what's going to happen essentially?
The architect room... The architect room is an anomaly. You don't mess with that guy. I tried a lot of different things, looping rooms around there. This is why the GitHub is so important. And this is what truly brings ARPG communities. This is what brings the best in ARPG communities. Player-driven solutions for resources that the developers have no way of providing you the time or no way of providing you because they don't have the time to, create a resource on the side for it. But, shortcomings that exist in the game because there's not enough descriptions about how things work. The players realize that quickly. Some genius programmer goes out there and makes a GitHub that allows you to design a temple in advance so you can go through the process of destroying your temple several times over without the actual pain of doing so. So you can figure out how everything works, plan it out, be very methodical, even surgical in your approach to building the temple, and then, well, if you're me, screwed up one time royally, but if you're better than me, you go through it unscathed, and you got the time of your life. I love this part about the community. This is the best thing about it. Some people complain about the fact that, whoa, why do we have this game? Why do we have to play? Why do we have to play a game where, you got to have this resource, you got to have this path of building to do this, you got to do this. That's the beauty of it all, actually. The fact that such things exist and that they aren't sanctioned by GGG and they just come out of nowhere. Because programs like that are a perfect example of somebody who woke up one morning, jumped out of bed, and was super excited to create such a program because they knew what it would do for the community. And I wish people would have slightly different outlook on all that stuff. So yeah, obviously grateful that that GitHub exists. And but at the same time, I expect it to. I expect it to when these sort of things happen.
I think you were directly quoting me from a previous video right there, by the way, Snoo. Yeah, why does all this exist? What is going on? I bet I said that.
Oh, really?
I think I've probably said that before. At least with like
I was channeling somebody.
Yeah, it was definitely me. It was definitely me. Yeah, it's like never sink. He spawned an entire dynasty with his creation of loot filter. Like none of that would exist. So no,
he's a prime example of this.
Yes, 100%.
The loot filter guy.
Yeah, without him, dude, PoE. Gonzo. Seriously.
Well, no, without him, there would have been somebody else, and maybe it wouldn't have been as good. Or hell, maybe it would have been better. Who knows? But that's the point. Like the community will rise to the occasion to bring forth, the help that the players need. If somebody else gets to it, fine. It's good. It's done. It's taken care of.
Right. Okay. So, Snake built. You only had one mistake with your temple, like only one deletion. Or it messed it all up?
Yeah, well, the consequence of spending untold hours in the editor meant that a surgical approach to it. I didn't take something into account. There was an issue. Apparently, this isn't going to make sense to anybody watching unless they know it as well as the person who knows it the most. But if you loop a snake at the very beginning and then simultaneously do a tier 3 room, it destabilizes the room at the same time. It can destabilize your core snake, and those two programs don't communicate together very well, and it actually completely bricks and disconnects the entire chain. All of it basically gone. And so that's what happened to me. That's the TLDR.
Wow. Okay. And okay.
You can see the video on my channel. It's 12 videos back.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so you think a few questions now that you're a temple enjoyer. Reset whole temple button. I've seen this suggested a few times by people. Do you think that would be a good change or a bad change? Do you like the randomness of the temple blowing up?
I think that would be a pretty good change. But let's talk about changes that would be good for the temple, actually. So in the vein of it being potentially the best league mechanic ever, it's too big. It should be smaller. It would make almost everybody happier if, let's say, so there's 81 squares, 9 by 9. What if it was 8 by 8 and it was 64, or even 7 by 7? Okay, and 49, and so that would be a quarter or 3/4 the size, 2/3 the size that it currently exists now. I don't think it would make any party unhappy if it was smaller, except for the diehard juicer who just wants more. They want the far end of the scale to be. They want to play an 11 out of 10 on that, far end of the scale.
A 20 by 20 snake. Come on, give me a 20 by 20.
Yeah. Even I, as somebody who kind of fits that bill, I'm totally down with the idea that the temple gets shrunk and we don't spend, instead of spending 100 hours on it, maybe we just spend 60 hours on it. That wouldn't be so bad.
Right.
Trying to make the perfect temple, and maybe we drop 50% less loot, and it's still like 5 times more loot than we were dropping. Under most circumstances. I wouldn't be terribly upset with that. So a smaller temple, smaller layout would be really good. Anyone who's a diehard casual, dad gamer, it wouldn't really affect them in any major way. They would be able to pursue the architect and Atziri for their one-time kill or whatever a little bit easier. That's great. It would mostly benefit people in the in-between, who basically people who are dad gamers but want to pretend that they are hardcore gamers, and they don't necessarily want to invest the amount of time, but they want to see those rewards. It would mostly positively benefit those players if it was smaller. I think that is the obvious kind of catch-all solution to it. The diminished returns mechanic that they introduced is kind of a band-aid fix. I think it's fine. I'm kind of iffy on it. It's never a great idea to punish players for doing more. Oh, you want to pursue the rewards in this way. Too bad you're punished. You can't do that. that's obviously less compelling than, having maximum agency to do something. But again, a smaller temple would help fix some of those problems as well. Moving the architect is really annoying. I wish it had more stable programming. It's kind of cool, the little mini game to get him to move. You need to try to open up a space, and then he'll tend to move into that open space, but it's not deterministic. So it's kind of random still, but it's like pseudo deterministic, if that's such a thing. I struggled to move him to the proper place, like 5 times in a row. It's felt like a major time waste. And you could argue that, well, you don't necessarily need to have the architect in the exact place. That's part of the game. That's the RNG of it. But, it would be nice if we had a little more control, and we could do that for sure. Some other possible solutions would be monetizing the temple. This is a really
There you go.
interesting one where there's I think another interesting conversation about the league mechanic. Isn't it crazy that there's like no precursors, nothing you can invest in currency-wise to do your temple? You have to do it yourself, which simultaneously means there's no way to pay to win at this thing. You must invest your own time unless you could pay for somebody else's access to somebody else's temple, I guess. Technically that would be, one workaround there. But by and large, you have to do it yourself. You cannot purchase room medallions off of the auction house.
Right.
But wouldn't it be kind of cool if you did? Because that's the way Path of Exile usually works.
Ooh. Yeah.
How much would those Spy Master medallions be worth anyway?
Right.
Somebody on the low end of the spectrum would go in there and drop a Spy Master medallion. I'm rich, at the beginning of the league.
Yeah.
That'd be great. So I think it would make an overall better experience. And then the people who have, less time but more currency, somehow, they would be able to, fill out their temple, expedite that process. And, the lower end player would get the big payout, and it would create an entire economy around that.
Right.
As far as the room medallions are concerned, I think some of those medallions aren't dropping as often as they should. I kind of like the destabilize mechanic and how the drama of trying to keep your temple on lockdown, the snakes and stuff, and oh my god, I'm not dropping enough. To me, that's actually really thrilling. So I know it infuriates the hell out of a lot of people, but it also makes you feel more satisfied when you're pulling that off, and you're actually keeping your temple locked down and progressing it. It's a little weird because, people don't feel good when they regress in progression, but again, it just makes it more deeply satisfying when you're succeeding at it at the same time. So there's arguments in both ways on that topic. But yeah, like room medallions, somebody in my chat came up with a cool idea where maybe the room medallion doesn't drop a specific room, but actually it drops a medallion that on your command converts a card that was chosen into whatever that card is, and then you create a medallion out of that card. So if a Spy Master shows up on a room, instead of it just being wasted, you can grab it, hold it, snatch it, and keep it for yourself later on. I would like to actually see that change. I think that would be just the best overall change. And my personal feeling as far as making it better, this one's a little bit selfish, but I hate the cap of 6 on the medallions. To me, that is way too restrictive. I want to see a cap of 9, 12, hell, maybe 20. I don't like a cap of 6. It just doesn't make much sense to me. It's really painful, really restrictive. You're trying to collect certain medallion room cards to do this little thing you're going to do later on, but you got to get enough locks to lock everything down. But you also need to upgrade your rooms too, so you do pick those up. You need to get the waystone modifiers on there. There's so many different medallions for different things, and you don't have enough room to pick them all up. So you have to make some pretty tough choices. It's compelling. Making tough choices is interesting in ARPG, but it's really restrictive for anybody who wants to, pursue it to that end.
I wonder if this does go core in 0.5, which I'm pretty sure it will, if they'll try to weave it in with the revamped endgame, and they'll give this like an atlas tree or its own special tree where you could edit stuff like that, where you could like take the risk reward of, okay, maybe you're able to, control your architect a little bit more, or you could go down the path of growing your medallion stash, or you can buff Atziri to be much like, I wonder if they're going to do that with all league mechanics, because that's like detached from the atlas. It's not technically in the atlas, but I feel like a lot of what you're saying could be edited a lot in this regard,
They would be dropping the ball of epic proportions if they didn't make this a core mechanic. I have every reason to believe.
Right.
I mean, this has to be. It's so integral to the core game. Yeah, it's got to go core, and it deserves to go core because of the the lore behind and everything. But obviously, it deserves to go core because it's, again, one of the best league mechanics, at least conceptually, and in many respects, how it was pulled off, one of the best of all time. I think again with some of the few changes potentially, like we were mentioning. Losing my train of thought a little bit. What was I gonna say on?
You were
Can you repeat your question?
you were gonna. I was just saying like it could be a part of the Atlas tree in the
Oh
Endgame
yeah, yeah.
Revamp.
Thank
It's
you.
going
Okay,
core.
no. The Atlas. Got it.
Yeah,
Got it. Got it.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So you know how in the Atlas you can pick and choose, like there's a notable for something, and it's like, oh, for essences. Oh, you want more attack-based essences instead of mana-based
there you
essences. Choose
go.
this notable.
Stallions.
Or do you want more of this room type or that room type?
Right.
Choose this notable. So that would be a terrific pseudo solution to the problem of always getting a bunch of rooms you don't want. So if a room medallion drops, it's like 5-10 times more likely to be the room that you want. So that would be a great addition in there. Obviously, the Atlas would make the mechanic even more powerful. So I'm fully expecting. I don't think this is going to come to any surprise to anybody. It's going to get nerfed. It's going to receive a massive global nerf to the loot drops, of course, and then they're going to revert some of that power back into the Atlas, and you're going to get some of it back there.
Yeah, I agree. I also think I don't no clue what they're doing for 0.5 besides they say it's going to be awesome. I wonder if they could also in a way to make the Atlas traversal more interesting, maybe plot like Val temples on the Atlas map too. Like you can like map to them essentially, as opposed to having the little beacons. Maybe the beacons are maybe you could like find fully built temples, stuff like that. Maybe they could like look at like really cool optimized temples, and you have a rare chance of them spawning on Atlas. Stuff like that is so exciting. Like if they do that,
I didn't even think of that.
Like that'd be so cool. Like okay, we're gonna do a Snoobae85 temple seed right here. Ooh, look at that. So you can go in. You have the potential to fight Atziri. Maybe go through a whole temple. I think stuff like that would be super sick. I hope
right off the bat, monsters with 1500% effectiveness.
There you go.
Get your butt handed to you.
Yeah, right next to the realm gate, dude. Just what's this? Oh my goodness. So
this game's terrible. I'm never doing this again.
This is the worst.
No,
yeah.
No, I like the idea of getting rid of the whole like, well, what is it, the shards that you have to pick up, to run the map in advance. It seems like needless extra time investment. Yeah, the crystals. I mean, it's already a huge time investment to build the temple. The fact that you got to also pick up these crystals and you got to blow through maps on top of it's a bit much. So I would like to see a change there where, yeah, it's a good idea, I think, to convert certain league, mechanics, what the icons above the maps, and make them show up sometimes with the temple. A precursor would be fine. I don't know. I mean, is it too good, I guess, to drop a precursor? 10 uses, and every single time you got a full blown Val Temple usage in there. I mean, I don't know.
That'd be crazy.
At the very least, you could force it on every map like you can now through the precursor. And maybe the precursors would be more expensive than normal because it would be higher demand. I don't know.
On that point, precursor tablets, dude, I feel like they rock. I'm a big fan of precursors now, especially once you kill Arbiter. Oh my gosh, it changed the end game for me, honestly. I've been loving the end game. Just my really lazy elk go run precursors with the content I want. The maps feel pretty dense. They're fun. I like it.
Hey, wait, weren't you somebody who was complaining about the raw loot in maps? Didn't a certain guy quit the league?
No, wait. Okay, all right. So here's what it's even worse than that, Snoo. I didn't have support gems. Okay. And I was getting pissy. I had currency, but I'm like, stupid game is making me use the trade just to get gems.
What's happening to the price of this and that?
This is total crap.
Can't make any currency. I'm going backwards.
And it was only 3 days into the league. I quit. Okay, you know what? Looking back on that, as I contemplate it more and more, I honestly think if I'm being fully objective, and some people are going to hate that I say this, I stand by a lot of what I said. It was very frustrating, but I'm pretty sure that my anger was from stuff that happened outside of the actual game. Okay? I'm pretty sure that most of it was like outside circumstance, surrounding, yes, PoE2 kind of, yes, content. I don't think it was mostly PoE2.
Next
it was
thing
just
I'm going to hear you talk about a dream you had, and an oracle came to you in a dream and talked about how the league's mechanics sucked, and then you were like, all right, fine, I've been convinced.
I went cold turkey. I didn't do anything, and then I came back and dude, I've had so many 2 a.m. play sessions playing. Like I've got highest level character I've ever had in PoE2. I have a second character in Endgame. I mean, we started
level 100.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
There's no, I will never get to level 100 in PoE2. The XP.
No, it's so easy with the mechanic.
No, do you have level 100 still?
Didn't even have to. Yeah, I didn't even have to
No.
put the rooms in that give you experience gain. It gives 0 of those rooms. It's there's somebody out there with like a temple that has like 20 synth flesh rooms, and they invite people to play in their temple, and they go from like level 60 to 100 in like 4 hours or something.
I mean, that's cool. I think that's like cool that there's that strat out there.
Yeah, that's really
that's
cool.
What somebody in our private
really
league,
cool.
he leveled to 100 in like 2 days, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And he was using a crazy juice temple strat to do it. So I like that that's in there. But unless I engage with that,
Agreed.
there's no way I'd ever hit level 100. Dude, it's so much harder than PoE1. Like I naturally got level 100 multiple times in PoE. I didn't even use like Domain of Timeless Conflict, Triula. I would just farm maps. I think it like Abyss is what my bread and butter was. I like farmed Abyss to get level 100. That seemed easy. PoE2, there's no way. I think
the big culprit here and the big change that's going to happen is the monster effectiveness. It's way too overpowered, and just in general. I mean, maybe it's balanced in terms of maps, but what you get out of that stat, that's like a pure full-blown quant XP multiplier. That you get, 15 times the amount of experience per. If you have 1500% effectiveness on monsters, you get 15x the loot, 15x the experience from each kill.
That's so crazy.
Like what? Oh well, and if you have a build that already overkills monsters by a factor of 5, let's say 5, okay, fine. It takes you 3 times longer to kill a monster to get 15 times more value out of it. I mean, come on, what are we talking about here? It's kind of crazy. They are going to have to work on, the balancing that.
Do you have anything else you wanted to say about the temple before we move on?
No, dude. I mean, we spent like 40 minutes on it or something. No, I knew that was going to be.
That was long.
Yeah,
50 minutes on the temple.
Think, we talked about what makes it great. We talked about possible changes to it. We hit all the marks on it, I think. So
okay,
yeah, it's good.
Then moving on to 0, I wanted to ask a little bit about 0.5. So 0.5 pitched this big Endgame Revamp. Mark is very excited about it. He hinted that they're doing something crazy with the Atlas trees, and almost like you're going to be able to, this is going to sound so dumb, make your own endgame. Okay. But he was talking about it in the vein of like, okay, maybe we're going to have the ability to juice monster effectiveness, and then on the other end, you can make giant packs of monsters, and the people who don't like to kill hundreds of mobs at once, they go to the pack side, or they go to the effectiveness. The people who like juicing their screens and not seeing anything, they go to the pack side. Like, sounds like they're really gonna lean into the make your own endgame stuff. Do you have any like guesses on what he might be hinting at here? Like, how can they achieve that balance? Do you think that's?
And it sounds like what you're saying is the Val Temple is the new endgame.
Oh,
sounds like I guess they're just gonna delete the Atlas and everybody's gonna be happy because the new endgame is the Val Temple. There it is, done deal. Boom. Hey, we saved a lot of developer time.
Look at that. Yeah. Maybe dude. Okay, maybe you're right. So maybe the tree will be very. Maybe it was.
I mean, you think I'm joking?
No,
but
I'm thinking about it now, dude.
About. Like this, that is how effing good this league mechanic is. It could damn near replace the entire Atlas in the function that it has. I know it seems kind of ridiculous, to the mapping purist, obviously. But if you really take yourself out, expand your mind, and look at it objectively. How complex is that mechanic, man? It really it almost has the complexity of the entire Atlas system from Path of Exile, all wrapped up into that. The amount of agency the player has, the decisions they can make on there, the degree they can build it out. To me, it's way more compelling than the Atlas in its current form.
Oh, I hope it doesn't get removed for you, Snoo. Oh my gosh, it would be a disaster.
I'm joking about that, but I'm not joking about this. I'm a big believer in this league mechanic. I think they pulled a rabbit out of the hat on this one, and they when they pulled the rabbit out of the hat, they broke off its ears, and it looked really bad in the trick. But if you can imagine that the ears didn't come off and everything stayed fine, it would be the best mechanic of all time.
Okay, all right, Snoo. One other big thing was added this patch, and I know you haven't played it. I just want to know why. Apparently, you've not touched Druid or Talismans. What is it? Stop with the Twister nonsense. Get on the Druid train, okay? Join us. Join us. Why didn't you try it out? You just wanted
Look,
to play your.
if the wolf was able to cast Twister, I probably would have done it. But I thought maybe there was a chance that, or if the druid's major whirlwind or whatever also like soaked up Twisters and made it even more massive.
Yo,
I probably would have done that. Yo,
write
that
this
sounds
down.
sick as hell.
Write
But
this down. Yeah.
I know. Well, this new mechanic with that Twister, it can soak up all 3 different elemental ground types. I'm sitting here wondering why Twister can't do that. Come
Oh
on, man.
gosh.
Come on, GG. Like make it. I want my freeze, fire, lightning, Twisters all wrapped up in one. Make it happen, Jonathan. Make it happen. I swear I will pick up every Regal Orb for the rest of the league if you do that.
Okay. I just had to ask about the Druid stuff. Moving on, just 2
No,
more.
I don't really have a take on it.
Okay.
I don't really
one
have a take
day.
on it.
One day.
The funny thing is, this league, I came out with a build, a hybrid battle mage type build, which ironically is what the Druid is kind of made for, except I did it on Invoker, which is also one of the only classes where that's kind of made for. And so I was kind of getting my fill of the spell attack hybrid fantasy build in a different way. And so it made me even less enthusiastic about playing the Druid because I'm kind of already going down that path on a different way.
One day.
By chance.
One day. When they add some like Twister-esque gems to the Druid pool in 2029. That happen. Okay.
Farming the endgame Val mechanic.
Farming the endgame Val mechanic all the way in 2029. Yes. Yep. The second Val Temple. They'll add another one. The Val Tower. Climb up. All right. You're stacking tiles on top of.
Whoa! The 3D Val Temple.
Bro. Oh, I hope they're not listening now. Oh no! Don't do it. Don't do it. My brain. Okay.
But that's 9 by 9 by 9.
Oh. Yeah, that'd be too crazy.
Yo.
No, my brain would break. My brain would totally explode.
You know how many divine orbs I drop in one room to that?
That's a lot. That's a lot. That's good. Okay. They're recently, we're both Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2 players, even though, contrary to popular belief, you guys. And GGG recently came out and said, hey, the next PoE1 league's coming out early March, most likely. That caused a little bit of a stir, I think, not in the community. I was actually like reading like on the forums and on like Twitter, Reddit. Everyone's like, okay, yeah, a little later than I thought, but okay, cool. Then I did see some creators kind of respond to it and say, what's going on? Like what's going on? They're sacrificing PoE1 for the sake of PoE2. There's 3 months of PoE2, 1 month of PoE1. They're probably going to release the next PoE2 league literally like a month or, several weeks after the PoE1 league comes out. PoE1 isn't getting its time to shine. And it really caused me to think about what that's going to look like going forward, like with PoE1 and PoE2. What I think personally would be best and what I think GGG is going to do. My take is, even though GGG is kind of pitching, yeah, we just need to get PoE2 out and then stuff will return to how it was. It'll be bigger PoE1. Sorry, GGG, I don't believe them. I think it's going to be heavily in favor of PoE2, even when PoE2 is out, and PoE1 will slowly recess. I don't think it's going to die, but I do think that the updates will get smaller. Maybe they'll get more, it will be far and fewer in between, right? There will be maybe like 2 PoE1 updates a year, and they will be all effort on PoE2, because I think the ceiling for this game is far higher. I'm curious to hear what your take on this might be. Do you think PoE1 will slowly wane? Or do you think that one game is, totally going to die out, like PoE2 going to die out? Or do you think they'll kind of be even once GGG pushes PoE2 to 1.0?
Oh, okay. All right. You pulled my arm enough.
Right, let's go.
Get ready for the glaze. Is Talkative Try's video, most recent video, one of the most based videos I've ever seen?
Oh.
Yes, it is. All right. It was very well done video. You're absolutely right. I'm 100% agree on that spectrum. I think the developers are compelled to work on PoE2 way more than PoE1. You got to sit there and imagine got the brand new game, super excited, all the new tech to work on that. They really want to go and develop, spend a whole bunch of time and effort developing the old game. I mean, if the players really want it, I guess, but the more time goes on, the less people care about that, the more they see the light of PoE2 and everything it can be capable of with the tremendously high ceiling, such as what you see in the Val Temple mechanic. Like that's pretty obvious example of a very, very high ceiling of what GG is capable of doing. And to that extent, anyone who is not played PoE1 and only played PoE2, you want an example of what developers can do in this game, in this company. The Val Temple mechanic is an example of the depth that they can do, completely smashing it out of the park compared to, you know, the competition and the depth of new league mechanics that the competition brings in other games. All right, what are we even talking about here? So yeah, I agree with you 100%. I watched that recent video of yours, and yeah, I was right on the money with what I'm feeling as well. I estimated back in last year, I figured that for all intents and purposes, the excitement and the sort of continuation of PoE1 excitement would probably last another 2 years. I said this a year ago. And it looks like I'm probably still pretty right on that. It's beginning to really wane now. I've seen a lot of people in my own community, and my community is heavily biased in favor of PoE1. A lot of them actually despise the fact that PoE2 exists and the fact that it's taking developer time away. They wish it never did. They wish they lived in an alternate universe where it just continued only working exclusively on PoE1, and all of their creative potential and all the, you know, all of that went into the original game. A lot of them are coming around, and even they are starting to admit, yeah, dude, I could see myself. I can actually see myself liking this game more than the original. Crazy that I'm saying that, but you know, a lot of them feel that way.
Yeah.
And I also feel that way. I mean, I felt that way even beforehand. And yeah.
I think with this patch again, I saw this comment a few times today. Some people still have it in their mind. I don't know if they haven't played PoE2 at all and they just hear about it, but they still play PoE1, love PoE1, hate PoE2. A lot of people think, oh, this game is Souls-like. It requires intense skill. There's no depth to it. There's all this stuff. All very wrong, right? I feel like with this patch, once again, you know, I thought maybe they're going to try to differentiate the games a little bit more. I don't feel like they have it all. I feel like they're just continuing to move closer together. Like I thought the density thing would be way different. It's not. It's honestly, it is just turning into like better PoE1. That's how I feel. Like
well, that's your next video right there. All right,
I know.
We need Talkative try a 2.0 based video here.
Hey,
like exactly what you're saying,
dude. My video essays. You know,
where's the original vision? Where's the original vision?
The OG vision. It is totally dead. It's dead. I was listening to Blaze. He was talking about 0.1 and how you used to get excited when your flask charge would roll like regains 0.25 charges like a second in boss fights because it would matter. Like you actually have to care. Where's that? It is so 1 year out, so far removed from OG vision. They are converging. And if anything will kill PoE1, it's PoE2 because of that. It's because they're becoming like they're going to become similar. In 5 years' time, that's not even true. I feel like PoE2 is just better PoE1 right now. The campaign is a different beast. Feels very different.
There are several builds that can blast faster than the fastest builds in PoE1.
Visual clarity is worse in PoE2.
Aside from like, you know, ward loop stuff, I guess. But, you know, basically, yeah, it's already happened. I mean, I have a lot of people open up my stream at the end game and they're like, what the hell am I even watching? This looks like PoE1.
Right.
You know? And that exact audience who are still sitting there in a corner thinking to themselves, this terrible game, so slow, so much. And then what are they going to think when they open a stream of an endgame PoE2 build that looks like you are blasting as hard as you are in PoE1? They have no choice but to think, wait a minute, this isn't what I remember I was complaining about. Hold on a second here. You know, so you can't appeal to every crowd, I guess. But yeah, it looks like GGG has by and large kind of abandoned that that vision of of that far into the spectrum, Souls-like combat, and gone more towards appeasing the PoE1 crowd, which I guess is all the more evidence that they're going to, for lack of a better word, phase out PoE1. Not completely, like you said, but
yeah, that's not. There's no way that happens, dude. Anybody who thinks it's gonna, They'll make money from it. People will play that thing. People are like begging just for a basic econ reset. That's going to get tens of thousands of players forevermore, pretty much. Minimal changes, I bet. I will give credence to GGG in one regard, though. The soulsy combat. I don't think it was ever soulsy. I think it was like more tactical.
We use that as a pejorative.
I know, but so many people take it literally, and I'm like, guys, what are you doing? That's crazy.
No.
The wolf. Okay, the wolf is like combo gameplay done right. I am pressing a stupid number of buttons, and it's so much fun. I actually really like it, dude. It's like it. I don't know how to describe it. Like I play one button builds. I play lots of one button builds to PoE1. I play them in PoE2, but the wolf, dude, you're pressing like 5-6 buttons, and everything just feels good. It molds together really well. And I think you can scale the wolf to just be like basically a 1-2 button build eventually. But the pathway there with all these, oh man, it feels so good. It's so impactful, so visceral. You still feel like you're going fast. It doesn't feel clunky at all. They nailed that. Nailed it with the wolf. I think they nailed it with the bear too. Can't speak for the wyvern. Haven't played the wyvern. But I think that's the first time I feel like they've actually nailed it for me personally. I think for others, maybe it's been nailed in other regards, but the wolf.
That's a hallmark. To me, that's a hallmark of great ARPG game design. I think, in my opinion, the best ARPG is one where before you have a tripped out endgame build, before you've progressed everything, the options for how you would set up a build with like maximal effort, maximal reward would look something like a lot of buttons potentially to get, the most amount of damage having an actual rotation. It would be, something that would be a little jarring at first. You could get used to it, a combo based gameplay. And then over time, because you want to feel more powerful, and at the same time, you don't want to be playing the game that way forever and always, you would kind of graduate into a rotation that is simpler and simpler over time, and the power you would gain, just raw power from gear and leveling, would offset the loss of those buttons and those extra combos to the point where you can just kind of relax and vibe out, enter the flow state more easily, press fewer buttons, and just blast your way through the majority of the remainder of your endgame experience. And you don't really need to play the game really hard like that, except in the very beginning. And even then, you don't necessarily have to, because if your skill cap is lower, you're just not that good at video games, or you just despise combo gameplay, the option's still there. Like the game's not so hard that you can't get through it without pressing like minimum of 4 buttons in a build or something like that. But the point is, the option is there for every type of player. The agency is given to the player, and again, that's a hallmark of a good ARPG game design, because nobody wants to play a Souls-like combat for the entire lifespan of their character. The point is to become like a god, and part of the feeling of becoming like a god is reducing the amount of buttons you're using over time.
Yeah. I would argue I don't even want to play a Souls-like ARPG, man. I tried No Rest for the Wicked. At least now, dude, I am dog at those games. I can't do it. I couldn't make it out of the first 2 zones, dude. Oh, it's not for me. I like where PoE2, honestly, I like where PoE2's going. And aside from my crash out at the beginning of the patch, this has been my favorite patch ever. Very, very, very fun. So I'm glad, I'm excited to see where 0.5 goes. And honestly, dude, I also played a lot of 3.27. I got 36 challenges in record time. I'm going to play 3.28. Oh yeah, I played Keepers. I went back. I was total brain off though. I was like, just freaking, I got YouTube on the second monitor. It was like, late at night, I was just blasting. I liked it. Did you like Keepers?
I got hit by, no, I mean, I have a very strong track record of playing an entire league throughout its full duration, and Keepers was the first time I really kind of set the game aside and didn't really play it for a couple of weeks, even when it was so early on that I didn't need to like switch over to prepare for the new league. I did it like in advance, and then I got some RTS action in instead.
I know.
For a short period of time.
You were gonna segue. Look at you. That was good. Was good.
I'm leading you.
Excellent.
Ask about that.
Yeah, I saw you play. So yeah, PoE talk over, guys. Click off, but you shouldn't. You shouldn't click off because this is interesting.
Oh no.
Okay, so I saw you playing Age of Empires 2 on stream, and I had to ask, are you an RTS god? What's your real-time strategy game history?
Oh yeah, they're my original favorite. Yeah.
Okay.
I originally played StarCraft. StarCraft Brood War was like my first Blizzard game experience. Absolutely fell in love with that game, and I was not. I was pretty good at it, of course, but not like giga competitive. I was a young guy, had good APM, and that you can't keep carrying that torch forever. Gotta grow up, get older. Pressing buttons like getting carpal tunnel in a matter of span of a few days isn't really worth it. And
Right.
so, you play another RTS type like Age of Empires, which is actually what I played way back in the day when I was a young kid offline. That's where I got my world history education, actually. Is Age of Empires, I'd say. The closest thing to it. Yeah, and so that game is a little more relaxing, less APM intensive, more strategically based, and I've always loved that game. Always had great affinity for it. So it's a game that I kind of go back to in between if and when I kind of quit playing my core game. That game in and of itself never really been my core game that I play, more than any other, but it's always just a game that if I'm not doing anything else, that's kind of what I play.
Like your comfort
I
game.
wish RTS was still popular. I don't know what it is. That genre of games really died out
It
really
did.
hard.
Yeah. I we had a
It's
little
really
bit.
strange to me, actually.
Well, is it the time investment? Do you think is the time and strategical? Like it's very. You have to be. Well, I guess unless you're doing rush strats, but I mean, a lot of the game,
I
at
guess
least
it's too competitive. I don't know.
maybe. Yeah, it is curious to think about because like my friends and I, our games either are over in 10 minutes or 2 hours when we play. Like we play Age of Mythology Retold. When it came out, we got super hyped because that was our game when we were younger. We missed Age of Empires 2. We played Age of Mythology. We played Age of Empires 3. I know this is blasphemy. I played AoE 1 as well. Just like missed. I went back and played AoE 1, missed AoE 2. But we've been blasting Age of Mythology Retold. Freaking love it. The music I think is my favorite soundtrack. But Age of Empires 2, I've never played, man. What is special about that game that the other Empire series didn't catch
If
to you?
if I mean, you can find YouTube videos on this, some really interesting YouTube
Okay.
videos talking about the entire Age of Empires series and which games are the best and why. And most of them will lead you to believe that Age of Empires 2 is the best game of all of them that has been made, except for maybe Mythologies, because it was a little bit of an offshoot and had some interesting things about it.
Yeah.
I've not played that one. I've not played 3 or 4, actually.
I haven't played
I
4.
downloaded 4 and was going to play it, but then it just turned out to not catch on after all.
Yeah.
And there's just something about the AoE 2 is like it was a successor to AoE 1, but it just hit the mark where it was like perfectly balanced, and it became a cultural phenomenon. And it's kind of like chess. At what point is a board game going to come along and be better than chess? It's just kind of hard to do. It's reached that status, kind of like how StarCraft Brood War reached that status, and they try to come out with a lot of people were like, nope, not playing StarCraft 2 when it comes out. No way, it can be better. And a lot of people felt that way and even still feel that way to this day, that there's something kind of magical about the balance and everything. It's just a perfect game. Got that kind of feeling to it. And I guess maybe that's one of the reasons why RTS is so hard to pull off, because in a competitive game like that, it has to be phenomenally well balanced in order for it to be fun and fair and have the longevity. It's not like PoE where you're playing against monsters and, well, this league the monsters are losing. The players stronger than they're supposed to be. Well, that's not that big of a problem, is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe the opposite is a bit of a problem, but in this case, if one civilization turns out to be a little bit better than the others, well, the whole dang game just went down the drain, because now everybody's gonna do mirror match on that particular civ, and it's gonna get boring real fast. And yeah, that's what you have. So way harder in a certain sense
Yeah.
to develop and balance a game like that.
And keep up updates and everything and introduce like I wonder monetization of a game like that. I'm sure people have thought about it. Like, oh, do they sell faction? Maybe Age of Empires 4 does this. Do they sell factions? Do they sell like cosmetics? Cosmetics make a big
Yeah,
difference
they
in
could
like
sell
RTS.
cosmetics for your units and stuff. Yeah, I don't see
Eh,
why they can't do that.
that's like a core, at least in Age of Mythology, that's a core part of the game though. Like you want to know what units look like. You want to know, like, okay, is this like medium, heavy,
Yeah.
like, are they upgraded to
So
this
it'd be
degree?
like pay to win,
Right, because
pay to win to use an expensive MTX that you never see because you don't know what this unit is.
boom, because you need to know the MTX. So it's like, that's kind of rough. It gets into weird territory. So that's where my mind went. And instantly I'm like, I would not like MTX for units and stuff.
The ultimate package MTX, create your own look.
Oh,
so your own specific look.
Did you ever
all your opponents?
Did you ever play Battle for Middle Earth?
I did not. No.
Oh, that was a good RTS, dude. That was a good one. That was a unique one as well. So it's
honestly, I haven't played that many games.
Yeah.
I'm always
me neither.
I always just dive into one and then I just I go ham on it for like a few years straight.
Yeah,
until I finally get bored of it.
I've probably played under like I think 25 or 30 games my entire life. I think. Not even kidding. Across everything. I also get just hooked into games like Guild Wars 2, Dota 2, Dungeons and Dragons Online, Neverwinter Nights. Those were my games of choice. Now Path of Exile. So, like Claire
Obscure, how long that ride will last.
I know.
Who knows? Hope it'll last.
Yeah, I hope it'll last.
I mean, it got a reset, right? Because now it's Path of Exile 2. We're playing a brand new game, guys.
It did. Yeah, totally brand new.
Nothing different about. I mean, everything is different about it. It's like totally new experience. There's no way they're merging PoE1 into PoE2. Not gonna happen.
Okay, Snoo, hear me out. Some person in my comments, I can't remember your name, but I actually thought it was great. I'm gonna make a video on this. It's gonna be an unbased video. Path of Exile 1 remastered. The campaign, all the bosses made. PoE2, they do the reverse. They go, haha, this is what we were going to do originally, but now
the original vision. You thought we gave up on the original vision.
Okay, like they bring the PoE1 campaign.
I'm getting black-pilled in real time
into PoE2, dude. So then you can play the PoE1 campaign or the PoE2 campaign. Dude, that would actually go really hard. If they condensed it down into less acts, maybe cut out some of the extraneous, crap with the gods. Imagine a 6-act, Act 1 through 4 PoE1. Maybe they add in another cooler act in there. Like they get rid of the god story, dude.
And then we can have the Atziri cinematic in PoE1 and see it twice and stuff.
Yes, yes. Okay, did you like the Atziri cinematic and stuff? I thought that was incredible.
Did I like the Atziri?
Did you? Yeah, this is really
that is your dumbest question of all day. Sorry, that is your dumbest question.
Dude, it was okay. I killed her in 3 seconds, but that was probably one of my favorite moments of the entire expansion. Just that whole scene. I didn't know. Oh, spoilers.
Yeah, her cinematic lasted longer than I did.
Oh, there you go. Well, her turning it into a snake was unexpected. I didn't know there was a part 2. I'm very happy. I thought it was just part 1, and I was like, wow, that is so sad. And then I got a part 2. She only lasted 3 seconds though in part 2 as well. So still looked cool. Yeah. Still looked really cool. So okay, Snoo, we've been going an hour and a half now. Was there any other topic you wanted to yab about, man?
No, we got to respect the viewers. We'll stop it there. We'll stop it there.
Right.
We talked about a lot of good stuff. Yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation. The league mechanic is, God, it's so good. It's so good. It has the potential to be absolutely phenomenal. I definitely lament the Hotfix 13, infamous Hotfix 13, the way that made everyone feel, and I just hope that when people look back on this league mechanic, they think about it not in terms of, guys, you remember that terrible time back when we had this crazy FOMO of this league mechanic, and then they ripped it out from under us, and the hotfix, and then they were all gone on Christmas break. And I hope instead they think of it as like, guys, you remember that league mechanic? Dude, that was the turning point when GGG really ramped it up. We got to see what was actually coming. We had no idea at the time how crazy this game would be, all the scaling and everything you could do with it. I'm hoping for the latter, and keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah. Hey, it also made a second wind possible. 50,000 players, 60,000.
Well, I'm going to need that for Atziri as well.
Amazing. Okay. All right, Snoo. Thanks so much. Third time on the pod, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on. Everybody, check out Snoo stuff in the description or in the live chat. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it, dude.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
See ya.